Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be doing another informational video learning some more basics of art. Some very important simple things every artist should understand. And so today we're tackling color theory. Diving into this fascinating world of color theory and color harmonies today. Whether you're an experienced artist or just starting out, these principles are essential to understand, and it's always good to brush up on it again. So let's get started. First up, let's talk about the basis of color theory, which is the color wheel. The color wheel was created by Sir Isaac Newton in 1666, and it's a visual representation of visible colors and how they interact with each other. The wheel comes from Newton's work with color and light, but it has been expounded upon by a lot of other scientists throughout the years, looking further into light or looking into the anatomy of eyes and how it relates with colors. So there is a whole science side to color theory as well that you can look into if interested, but we're going to keep with the basics today and address how the color wheel is used in art. While there are a few different versions of the color wheel, physical artists use the color wheel based on the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, so that's what we're going to discuss now. Primary colors, most of us learned back in kindergarten, but again, it never hurts to refresh. So red, yellow, and blue are primary colors. Why? Because we cannot mix these colors. You have to have red, yellow, blue, and cannot create it from anything else. They are an original pigment. All colors come from these three primary colors and how they mix together. So from here, we derive the secondary colors, which are green, orange, and purple. These colors are created by mixing the primary colors. You mix red and yellow to make orange, red and blue to make purple, blue and yellow to make green. Most all of us know these secondary ones as well. And it's at this level that we've pretty much introduced all the main colors. These are all the very unique, visually unique different colors that make up like the rainbow we're taught as well. Many color wheels stop pretty much at this level. Here we've introduced all the basic colors, your basic rainbow that everyone is familiar with. But we can take it a step further with tertiary colors. And tertiary colors, as you can guess, come from mixing your secondary and your primary colors together. The tertiary colors are yellow-green, blue-green, yellow-orange, red-purple, and blue-purple. This level is most important for your blending and addressing the tones of your art. They aren't as distinct as the secondary colors, but they definitely affect the overall feel of your art and the cohesion of the image. So now that we've established the colors of the color wheel and how they are set up in the order of mixing, we can look at the colors and their relations. To do this, we're going to need to go over a few terms though that you'll want to understand. Hue is a color or shade. This word's pretty much interchangeable with the word color. Then there's value. Value is the degree of lightness or darkness in a color. It's often displayed in a gradation of black to white with your base color in the middle of that gradation. And when talking about value, there's a few other terms that people are going to use, which are tinting, shading, and tones. So tinting is when you add white to a hue. So if we take our scale again and add red, you start in your middle with red and add that white, all that scale of adding white, all of those are tints. And the act of adding white is tinting. Of course, you have now your other half of the scale towards the black, and that is shading. The red to black, all of those are shades, and adding black to your color is shading. And then finally, toning is going to be adding gray to your color. This one's a little more associated with the next term as well. Saturation. Saturation is how vivid or intense a color is, and it's often displayed also in a gradation, but this time of just your color to gray. So toning, adding the gray as you go, and tones would be all those colors on that scale there. It affects how intense that color is, and it is separate from your value scale. Knowing these terms are going to help you communicate your goals with color and your art a little better to your other artists, and probably just help you understand more of these art resources around here. Now that we've established colors and different terms for you to understand it, let's look at the main issue that brought you to this video, which is how do we use all of this? How do we use colors and the color wheel? And one of the easiest ways, the best place to start is going to be color harmonies. So color harmonies are a selection of colors from the wheel that create a visually pleasing and balanced design. They are tried and tested groupings of colors, already selected palettes that are gonna for sure look good, bring you to success, work out well in your painting. So what are some color harmonies? Start with the very simplest, monochromatic. A monochromatic color harmony uses different tints and shades of one color. So you're only using one color, but there's still variations of that color. And it's the simplest you can get, but also pretty much ensures you're going to have something that looks decent because you're not bringing anything else in that could clash with it. You just have one color, so it's always going to work with itself. For monochromatic, you can take it a little further here and go into an analogous color scheme. An analogous harmony uses hues next to each other on the color wheel, anywhere from 2 to 4 colors, as long as they're right next to each other on the wheel. That's also great for beginners because being right next to each other are going to be easier to blend. They're not as tricky to get, and they're going to definitely be more cohesive because they're right there. They turn into each other very easily. Not going to have much clashing going on. But it definitely adds more interest in monochromatic because now you do have 2 new colors in the mix, so a little more interest into your art. Now, if you want to add a little more interest though, we can step into the complementary color harmony. Complementary, most people know as well, it is the 2 opposite colors on a color wheel. So a complementary color harmony really provides great high contrast. They are as far apart from each other as can be, so they're really gonna pop, and if used well, they're really gonna enhance each other. But it can be a little tricky too because they are so opposite that they can clash, and they can just be maybe too much energy in your painting too. People do like contrast, but if you're going for a soothing painting, that contrast is a high energy that will kind of work against you. So it's definitely a great color scheme, just not appropriate for every painting you're going to be trying. From complementary though, we can also derive the split complementary harmony. So split complementary still keeps your nice high contrast, but tones it down just a bit by not being the exact opposite colors. They bring it a little bit closer to your one principal one, which generally helps the artist, just helps you in blending a little easier and managing the color so that it's not clashing quite as much, but it definitely still keeps that active feeling. And now you have 3 colors, you're just introducing more color to, more energy through all of that. Similar as well to split complementary, you have the triadic harmony, and the triadic harmony uses 3 colors as well, but they are going to be equal distance apart on the color wheel. So on your wheel, you pretty much just plop a triangle there, and you're going to use those 3 colors as long as they're equal apart. Again, this is going to be a high color. You have a lot more options to use, but it's going to be a lot trickier as well because now they're going to be further apart, harder to blend, and a little bit harder to manage any clashing. You have a lot more interest going on, a lot more energy, but you just have to make sure it doesn't become overwhelming in this harmony. So, that was a lot of information just thrown at you. How do you actually use this? How do you put this into practice? Well, I highly suggest using the harmonies I just talked about. A lot of times we watch these, we're like, okay, that sounds cool, and then you just go back and do your art. But I really suggest picking each of these harmonies and just doing a painting in that harmony to really explore that principle, what it's teaching you about color. They're a great way to familiarize yourself with colors, relationships, and they really display the basics of color mixing that you want to understand as an artist. As my teachers always said, you need to understand the basics before you are allowed to experiment and break those rules. Another great exercise is just straight painting the color wheel yourself. Most art classes start you here for a reason. Put it into practice, paint that wheel, see how the colors work. And also, it's just a great way to get to know your paints, because as much as we've described these colors and how they interact, you still have that physical element of your own paints and how they work. The joy of physical art is that all supplies are a little bit different. There's different pigments, binders between different brands, that your red is going to be a little different than this red. It's going to behave a little differently. So what better way to really know how your paints are going to look than practicing with them? When starting out, many people find their paintings look messy or overwhelming. One of the fun parts of painting is all the colors out there, all the paints you can buy and use, but if you don't know how to use those colors, they can definitely work against you in your art. Some of my first painting classes way back in high school would only give us the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and white and black, and that's all you were allowed to paint with, because you can mix any color from those. If you wanted a color, you had to mix it. You had to learn how you make that color. It's definitely a throw you into the fire way of learning, but it is effective. I would recommend trying it yourself sometimes. And while you definitely do not have to keep with that your whole art career, it's a great way to really, really drill into your brain how colors are made and how they interact with each other. And overall, color is a principle that you are always exploring as an artist. There's a lot you can dive into about color theory, and I don't think anyone ever gets it perfect. You're just always going to be learning more and more. So that wraps it up for our first lesson on color theory. Feel free to save and like this video for reference. It never hurts to have references on hand and keep relearning basics. But let me know if you do want a lesson 2 on color theory. There's so much we can still learn. There are things like color temperatures and the emotional ties to each color that we can explore, or we can even go to the other end and look at the science behind colors and how we see color itself. So let me know if either of those sound interesting to you. Leave a comment below. But until next time, I can't wait to see what you make. Thank you.